Good morning, students. We have completed with formation of public company as well as private company, and we have learned that in private company there are only two steps, that is functions of promoter, and the second one is your incorporation of the company. But we have learned that in public company, apart from promotion, apart from incorporation, there are two extra stages, that is capital subscription and commencement of business. With this, we have completed with the formation of company. Now, today we are going to discuss the important documents used in the formation of company. Now, basically, there are three important documents for any of the company. First one is your memorandum of association, then your articles of association, and then prospectus. Okay, so first we're going to start with that of memorandum of association. Now, memorandum of association is one of the major document of the company, which is also known as the charter of the company. It describes the purpose for which the company is coming into the existence. That means it defines the objective and aim of the company for which it is being established. It also provides for the scope of business, and such documents regulates the relationship of business with that of the outsiders. Okay, how the outsiders will going to have a relationship with that of company, that is being decided with the help of memorandum of association. So it shows us the purpose, it shows the scope within which the company will going to just function. It will not be containing anything which is not being in that of the company's purpose, and company could not run anything which is not mentioned in that of memorandum of association. Now, it consists of 6 clauses, starting from the first clause, that is name clause. Now, this clause contains the name of the company. If the company is private company, it will going to end with the word limited, and if it is a public company, it will going to end with the word public limited. Second one is your situation or domicile clause. Now, this clause contains the address of the registered office of the company. It also mentions the state in which the registered office of the company is situated. Now, a company must have its registered office when it starts its business or within 30 days of registration, whichever is earlier. Okay, दोनों में से पहले जो भी हो जाता है, अगर रजिस्ट्रेशन पहले हो जाता है या बिजनेस स्टार्ट हो जाता है, उसके 30 दिन के अंदर अंदर कंपनी के पास अपना एक प्रॉपर रजिस्टर्ड ऑफिस होना चाहिए, वेयर दैट कंपनी विल गोइंग टू जस्ट kept all the important documents. Okay, so situation clause mentions the exact address along with the name of the state, the address of the registered office. Okay, coming to the third one, that is object clause. Object clause, it is one of the most important clause which defines the purpose of for which the company is being established. Okay, it consists of two subparts: main objects which the company is actually running with, and the other object, had it been, if company failed with any of the main objective, then he can pick up any of the objective mentioned in other objectives. Okay, the object of company. Now, what must be the objective? Object company का ऐसा होना चाहिए जो लीगल हो, lawful ho, and it must not be contrary and immoral to that of the law. Okay, coming to the fourth clause, that is liability clause. Now, this clause defines the liability of the members, and it says that the liability of members is limited to the amount of which is unpaid on the shares. Suppose as a shareholder or as a member, I have paid only 5 rupees out of 10 rupees of share, then my liability will only up to the remaining amount which is unpaid, that is 5 rupees. आप अगर किसी कंपनी के शेयर होल्डर है, सपोज आपने 100 रुपये का कोई शेयर खरीदा है, आपने उसमें 70 रुपीज़ दे चुके हो, तो आपकी लाइबिलिटी सिर्फ 30 रुपीज़ के लिए होगी, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं होगी. दिस इज मैंशनड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर क्लॉज विच इज़ नोन एज लाइबिलिटी क्लॉज. ओके, next one is your capital clause. The minimum amount of capital with which a company is being registered, that particular capital is known as authorized capital. The another name for authorized capital is nominal capital, registered capital, and this amount is being mentioned in this clause, that is known as your capital clause. जितनी पूंजी, जितनी कैपिटल से आप अपना बिजनेस को चलाते हैं, वो बिजनेस पर्टिकुलर वो कैपिटल जो होता है उसे अपन ऑथराइज कैपिटल बोलते हैं, एंड दिस कैपिटल क्लॉज कंटेन्स द अमाउंट ऑफ दैट कैपिटल. Next one is your association clause. Now this clause contains the declaration that all those persons who are acting as the directors of the company are hereby giving their consent. They are ready to act as the directors in the company and they are ready to take the qualification shares of the company. The declaration must be signed by all the directors of the company. जैसे ही शेयर्स इशू होते हैं तो सबसे पहले शेयर्स ऑफर किए जाते हैं अपने डायरेक्टर्स को और उन शेयर्स को बोला जाता है क्वालिफिकेशन शेयर्स. सो दिस पर्टिकुलर क्लॉज कंटेन्स द डिक्लेरेशन दैट ऑल द पर्सन्स हु आर एक्टिंग एज अ डायरेक्टर्स आर डिजायरस टू फॉर्म देमसेल्व्स इनटू द कंपनी and are ready to act as a directors and are also giving their consent to purchase the qualification share. This particular declaration must be signed by the directors of the company. Okay. Now we have completed with that of memorandum of association, the first document which is also known as the charter and which is also known as the major document which contains the purpose for which the company is established. We have learned up till now that there are total 6 clauses ranging from name clause, situation clause, object clause, liability clause, capital clause and association clause. Coming to the second one, that is articles of association. Now it is a secondary document. Now what was the primary document? Memorandum. What is the secondary document? Articles of association. Now what will be the relationship within the organization or inside the organization? That is all being regulated with the help of articles of association. It contains the rules and regulations for the internal management of the company. Minded children, memorandum maintains the rules and regulations of the company with that of outsiders, where for insiders the another document is meant which is known as your articles of association, and it regulates the relationship of employees or the candidates which are working within the organization, and it is a document for internal management of the company. Okay. Now what all is there in that of articles of association? Amount of share capital. Okay, आप कितनी कैपिटल से अपना बिजनेस स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं वो पर्टिकुलर अमाउंट इसमें मेंशन होता है. नेक्स्ट वन, राइट ऑफ ईच क्लास ऑफ शेयर होल्डर. सपोज यू आर हैविंग 3 कैटेगरीज ऑफ शेयर टू बी इशूड टू जनरल पब्लिक. वन इज ऑफ 100 rupees, another one is of 50 rupees and another one is of 10 rupees. What will be the rights of each category of shareholders who will going to purchase these shares? It is mentioned over here. Procedure for allotment of shares. Allotment means distribution of shares to the general public. So how the distribution of the shares will be done to the general public, that procedure is also mentioned in that of articles of association. Procedure for transfer, forfeiture and reissue of shares. Now what happened? Sometimes we want to sell the shares to that of the another person. This is known as transfer. For sometimes you have not paid the amount on the shares and that is why आपके shares जब्त कर लिए जाते हैं. That is known as forfeiture. जो shares जब्त कर दिए जाते हैं उनको वापस से किसी और को बेचा जाता है. That is known as your reissue. So what will be the procedure for selling the shares to the another person, for the forfeiture of shares and for the reissue of shares? That is also mentioned in articles of association. Now how the meeting will going to be conducted, what will be the voting rights, what will be the proxy. What do you mean by proxy? When in my place, when I am a shareholder and my place, my any family member is attending a meeting, that is known as proxy. आपकी जगह कोई आपकी अटेंडेंस स्कूल में कोई और लगा के जाता है, कॉलेज में कोई और लगा के जाता है, उसे क्या बोला जाता है? प्रॉक्सी. कोरम. कोरम means the minimum number of persons which must be present to considered with that meeting as a valid meeting. अगर मीटिंग में डिसाइड हुआ है कि एटलीस्ट 5 जने जब प्रेजेंट होंगे तभी इस मीटिंग को वैलिड माना जाएगा, तो दैट कोरम बिकम्स द 5 members. ओके, until unless there will be 5 members, the meeting will not be considered as a valid meeting. So what all are the procedures for conducting meeting? What all are the voting rights? What all is the quorum which will going to be decided by the company? What can all be done for the proxy? These all things are also being written in that of the articles of association. Next one, what will be the procedure for the appointment? That means just formally appointing the directors. Removal, that is firing out the director from the company, and the amount of compensation which will be paid to that of the directors. Next one, duties, powers and rights of the directors and the managers. Whosoever who is acting as a director and managers, their duties, their powers, their rights are also mentioned in that of articles of association. Procedure for the payment of dividend. Now children, when we deposit the amount in that of bank, at that time the income which we are getting over it is known as interest. In the same manner, when we are investing our amount in that of the shares. The income which we are getting is known as that of dividend. So what will be the procedure by which the company will going to pay dividend to the shareholders? It is also mentioned over here. Seal of the company, we already discussed that official signature of the company is known as the seal, and it is also being mentioned over here. Procedure for winding up of the company. Now winding up means the dissolution or the ending up of the company. So what will be the procedure exactly when the company will decide to going to wind up? This is all being mentioned in articles of association. Coming to the next one, that is prospectus, the third document. We have already discussed this particular thing also in a brief. That means that it is a notice, circular, advertisement, or we can say invitation, which is actually given to the general public so that they can subscribe to the shares of the company. Okay. You have ever seen that on YouTube, कुछ भी वीडियो चालू होने से पहले वो आपको इनवाइट करते हैं, हमारे चैनल को लाइक करो, शेयर करो, सब्सक्राइब करो. इन द सेम मैनर जब कंपनी भी अपना इन्विटेशन, अपना सर्कुलर, अपना एडवर्टीजमेंट जनरल पब्लिक को देती है, प्लीज़ आओ और हमारे शेयर्स में इन्वेस्ट करो, दैट पर्टिकुलर इन्विटेशन इज नोन एज प्रोस्पेक्टस. ओके. Now, contents of prospectus. First one, the prospectus contains the name of the company and its address, the nature of the business along with that of the main and other objectives of the company. Main and other objectives are those objectives, children, which is being mentioned in the object clause of memorandum of association. तो हम किस नेचर की इंडस्ट्री चला रहे हैं, से फॉर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और ट्रेडिंग or services. Okay, so we're going to write down the nature of the business which we are carrying on along with that of the object for which our company is running. Then number and classes of shares, मैंने बता ही दिया था कैसी कैटेगरीज होती है. 100 रुपये वाले शेयर हो सकते हैं, 500 रुपये वाले शेयर्स हो सकते हैं, 10 रुपये वाले शेयर्स हो सकते हैं. दिस इज ऑल्सो being mentioned over here. Details of qualification shares. Now who will going to obtain the qualification shares as the directors? It is all being mentioned over here. Name and address of signatories, name and address of all those persons who will going to sign as the first directors on the memorandum also and on the articles also. This is also being mentioned over here. The name and address of each and every managing director, the whole-time director and the managers. Who is whole-time director? Who devotes his whole time, that means his reasonable office hours to the company only, and he is not engaged himself into any another job. That person is known as whole-time director. Okay, so the name and address of all those persons who are belonging to the top level of company like managing director, whole-time director is also being mentioned over here. And the amount of preliminary expenses. What do you mean by preliminary expenses? Preliminary expenses मतलब कंपनी को बनाने के अंदर जितना भी खर्चा आया है, दैट इज नोन एज योर प्रीलिमिनरी एक्सपेंसेस. द अमाउंट ऑफ एक्सपेंसेस द कंपनी इज इनकर्ड फॉर ब्रिंगिंग द कंपनी इनटू द एग्जिस्टेंस, दैट इज ऑल्सो बीइंग रिटन ओवर हियर एंड दैट इज नोन एज योर प्रीलिमिनरी एक्सपेंसेस. सो दीज आर द थ्री मेजर डॉक्यूमेंट्स which are required in any of the company. Hope you have understood. With this we have completed with chapter number 2. Soon we're going to proceed with the third chapter. Thank you. Have a good day. Stay safe.